بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم من همزه ونفخه ونفثه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها فإن كل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة أما بعد جماعة السلام عليكم. Today, Tuesday, the 2nd of Ramadan, 1445 after Hijrah, which is equivalent to 12, is it 12 or 11? 12 March 2024. We're going to continue inshallah ta'ala from where we stopped yesterday. We are in Surah Al-Baqarah and we stopped at verse 138. We heard Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions to say that we are not a boastful nation, that we boast only us are going to Jannah. Say to them, yes, we believe in Ibrahim, we believe in Ismail, Ishaq, Yaqub, and the tribes of Banu Israel. We also believe in Musa, Isa, and what have been given to them. And we do not differentiate between prophets. We don't prefer other prophets than other prophets. We are Muslimun, those that submit totally to the will of Allah. That is Islam. So if you believe, if the non-Muslims will believe the way we do, they will be rightly guided. That's the truth. But if they turn their backs and refuse to become Muslims, then Allah will protect you against them. Allah is ever hearing and all-knowing. So we're going to continue from 139, where Allah said, قُلْ أَتُحَاجُونَنَا فِي
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أتحاجوننا في الله وهو ربنا وربكم ولنا أعمالنا ولكم أعمالكم ونحن له مخلصون.
Now Allah Ta'ala said to the Prophet, قُلْ لَهُمْ, say today to the Jews and the Christians, the non-Muslims, even the polytheists, say to them, أَتُحَاجُونَنَا فِي اللَّهِ, you argue, against us because Allah has chosen a prophet from amongst us. That's why they argue. They refuse to become Muslims because the last and final prophet is a non-Jew. It's an Arab. That's why they say they will not become Muslims. They don't want this religion again. If Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were a Jew, they would have believed. حَسَدًا مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِهِمْ, because of jealousy. So Allah says, say to them, are you arguing against us because Allah has chosen a prophet from amongst us? وَلَا تُحَاجُونَنَا فِي اللَّهِ وَهُوَ رَبُّنَا وَرَبُّكُمْ. He is our Lord and your Lord. Yes, He chose prophets from amongst you because He is also your Lord. So is it a fault? Is there any problem when He chooses a prophet from amongst us again? Our deeds are going to be, nailed up against us. Allah is going to ask us what we have done. He's not going to ask you, on our deeds. وَلَكُمْ عَمَالُكُمْ, and your deeds are going to be recorded against you. Allah is not going to ask us about your deeds. لَنَا عَمَالُنَا وَلَكُمْ عَمَالُكُمْ وَنَحْنُ لَهُ مُخْلِصُونَ. So you see, all you've done while obeying your prophets, Allah will record all this and question you on the day of judgment. All we are doing, following our own prophets, Allah will record this and ask us on the day of judgment. But beside all this, we have, another one item that we are far better than you. وَنَحْنُ لَهُ مُخْلِصُونَ. We worship Allah purely. We don't worship Allah and worship other things. No. We have ikhlas. That is total submission. That's what makes us Muslims. We submit totally to the will of Allah. You do not initiate anything, any act of ibadah, except you have its origin from the Quran or the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is Islam. Other religions can initiate acts of ibadah. That's why you see them, worshipping differently. When you go to this church, the way they worship Allah is different from the other church. But in Islam, the way we do our salawat, any mosque you enter is the same thing. The way and time we do our Ramadan is the same. Our Hajj, the same. You understand? Anywhere you go around the globe, as long as you meet Muslims, when you say Assalamu alaikum, they will answer with the salam. You understand? But it's not like that in other religions. To clap, just to clap, you need, the church that names itself after, your own church. That is, you can't enter into any denomination and worship except your own. But that's not about Islam. You can enter into any mosque. The Qibla is the same. The way you arrange your rows, the same. You have an Imam, before you copy what he does. He recites the Quran, the same Quran, the same ruku, the same salah, everything the same. So Islam is a unified religion. It unifies all Muslims. You feel the same. That's why yesterday we mentioned that Islam is not a tribal religion. It's not about your tribe or my tribe. It's about worshipping Allah. And we have the same book, the same Quran. We read from Quran and we read the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and we worship Allah. You do not worship Allah in your own language. You worship Allah in Arabic. That's the language of the Quran. Because Allah said, this Quran is Arabian Quran. Qur'anan Arabiyyan, ghayra dhi iwajin. This is an Arabic Quran. That is why you learn how to read Quran. At least learn how to read Quran. Even if you cannot speak Arabic, you should learn how to read Quran, because that's your link between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is your link, connection between Allah and His slave, is the Quran. Allah said, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Hold fast onto the rope of Allah. That rope of Allah is the Quran. So everyone should learn how to read Quran. If you don't know how to read Quran, you are in a very big trouble. May Allah prevent us from falling into trouble. Whatever it takes, give so that you learn the Quran. Go to school, or you take a teacher that can teach you how to recite Quran. Don't just say, I don't have any teacher, I can recite Quran on my own. It's wrong. You have to learn how to recite the Quran. It's your connection between you and your Lord. Because the Prophet ﷺ is saying, Al-Musalli yunati Rabbahu. The one standing in prayer is in fact having a close meeting with his Lord. So that meeting is only going to be accepted if you can recite the Quran. May Allah help us. وَنَحْنُ لَهُ مُخْلِصُونَ. Then Allah said, أَمْ تَقُولُونَ
أم تقولون إن إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط كانوا هودا أو نصارى قل أأنتم أعلم أم الله ومن أظلم ممن كتم شهادة عنده من الله وما الله بغافل عما تعملون.
Now Allah said, Am taquluna, and you say, Inna Ibrahima wa Ismaila wa Ishaq wa Yaqub wa al-Asbab. You say Abraham, Ismail, Ishmael and Ishaq, and also Yaqub, Jacob, wa al-Asbab, and the tribes of Banu Israel. Kanu Hudan. They are all worshipping Allah in the Jewish religion, the Mosaic religion. Aw Nasara. Some of you say they worship Allah in Christianity. You understand? You know, some verses, before this, in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, they used to say, nobody will enter into paradise except if he's a Jew, worshipping Allah in the Jewish Mosaic religion. Some of them will say, nobody will enter into paradise except if he's a Christian. وَقَالُوا لَن يَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةَ إِلَّا مَنْ كَانَ هُودًا. This is the Jews, worshipping Allah in the Mosaic religion. And then the other part will say, لَن يَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةَ إِلَّا مَنْ كَانَ نَصَارًا. Unless you are a Christian. The same thing now they are mentioning. Nobody will, they say, Am taquluna, or now you are saying, Inna Ibrahima wa Ismail wa Ishaq wa Yaqub wa al-Asbaq kanu hudan. They are all worshipping Allah in the Mosaic Jewish religion. Some will say they all worship Allah in the Christian religion. You can imagine this. Ibrahim alayhi salam, that is the great grandfather of Jesus alayhi salam. How can now Abraham become the follower of Jesus? You cannot comprehend this. It's supposed to be the other way around. But these people, out of ignorance, they say Abraham is also a Christian. The other ones will say Abraham is also worshipping Allah in the Mosaic Jewish religion. Then Allah said, now, A'antum a'lamu amillah. Do you know better than Allah? Do you know more than Allah? So if you say things that are not in the Quran, things that are not in the Hadith, it's as if you are assuming you know more or better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what scholars will say it's called an innovation, bid'ah. The Prophet ﷺ said in one hadith narrated by Aisha, Bukhari and Muslim also, he said, Man ahdatha fi amrina hadha ma laysa minhu fahuwa raddu. Whoever initiates anything that is not in this deen is rejected. Whatever you say, if it's not in the Quran, it's not in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's not any of the act of any of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is in fact an innovation. Whatever has not been done during the time of the Prophet and his companions is not part of our deen. However good you see it, that's your own perception. Allah is not interested in all this. So you learn your deen from the books, from Quran, from Hadith. and from the explanation of the scholars of Deen as regards Quran and Hadith. You don't initiate, you don't invent. You don't just say, it's okay now if you say, Subhanallah, not instead of 33 times, say 100 times. If you say, Alhamdulillah, 100 times, Allah Akbar, 100 times. When the Prophet says we should say it 33 times, Subhanallah 33, Alhamdulillah 33, Allah Akbar 33 or 34 after your congregational prayer. This is the teachings of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So if somebody decides to say, but Subhanallah is an act of worship now, why won't I say 100? Let me say 100 because I want more reward. Would this be accepted? No. It's not accepted. Because it's as if we are teaching the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam what to do. Or at least in some text, as if you are accusing, Subhanallah. The word is a bit harsh, but that's what Imam Malik said. As if you are accusing the Prophet ﷺ of hiding something that is rewardful. Instead of him to say 100, he said 33. So he's hiding this 100. Now you discovered that you can even say 100. But where? How? You cannot know better than the Prophet. You cannot know more than Allah that has sent the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Antum a'lamu amillah. Do you know more than Allah? No. So you cannot ascribe things to Allah that Allah has never said. You cannot ascribe things to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he has never said. In Islam, we have what we call total submission. Our submission to Allah is total. That is Islam. May Allah help us. So Allah is now challenging, is questioning everyone that can ascribe anything to Allah that Allah did not intend to say that, or the Prophet. He has never sent the Prophet to tell us this. Antum a'lamu amillah. Do you know better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ كَتَمَ شَهَادَةً عِنْدَهُ مِنَ اللَّهِ. Who is more a cheat? Somebody that cheats others more than somebody that has, closed, hide a shahada, that he knows, something that he knows from Allah. So if you know and you refuse to say, it's also worse than those that ascribe things to Allah that Allah never said. You get the point? It might be because of their ignorance, jahal. Somebody is saying, in kunta la tadri fatilka musibatu. If you are ignorant, you are in a big trouble. If you don't know deen, you are in a big trouble, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask you about this deen on the day of judgment. And you need to answer all the questions. All the questions. You are not to choose. It's not just like your worldly exams. You say 6 questions, answer 4. You answer all the questions. All the questions. Allah is going to ask you, not somebody else that you can bribe. It's Allah Himself, the owner of Jannah, the owner of hell. Na'udhu billahi min Jahannam. So Allah is going to ask you. So He said, the worst among you are those that, hide away from people things they know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ, who is more of a big problem, مِمَّنْ كَتَمَ شَهَادَةً عِنْدَهُ مِنَ اللَّهِ, more than somebody that has hide away things that Allah has mentioned before people. He doesn't want people to know what Allah has said. This one is the worst of all, transgressions. These scholars say is referring to those that have, decided to wipe away or erase or remove the verses that indicate the coming of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their texts. You know, they have done that. Allah has said earlier on, فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَكْتُبُونَ الْكِتَابَ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ ثُمَّ يَقُولُونَ هَذَا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ لِيَشْتَرُوا بِهِ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا فَوَيْلٌ لَهُمْ مِمَّا كَتَبَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَوَيْلٌ لَهُمْ مِمَّا يَكْسِبُونَ. Punishment, grave punishment awaits those that have written the book with their own hands and then ascribe it to Allah. They say, this is how Allah revealed it. But they were the ones that have written these books because they want to have thamanan qalila, a few, dollars from people. They will say the best seller. They will write Bible and they say write the best seller. Already over 2 million copies sold. Why now? So that's لِيَشْتَرُوا بِهِ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. Allah said, فَوَيْلٌ لَهُمْ مِمَّا كَتَبَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَوَيْلٌ لَهُمْ مِمَّا يَكْسِبُونَ. Punishment awaits those that have written this in their books, and punishment awaits those that earn a few dollars from this. Writing their books with their own hands and then say this is how Allah revealed it. They will even write holy on the cover page. Holy Bible. For example, what is holy in the Bible? What? Some Muslims even copy them. They used to write Holy Quran. Quran, Holy Quran. Nowhere in the Quran you see Holy Quran. No. Majestic Quran. Quranul Kareem. Non Quranul Muqaddas. Muqaddas, that's holy. Even Bible, you can never find the word Bible inside the Bible. If you remove the cover and ask any Christian in the world, not just in Nigeria, not just in NUC, you ask any Christian, what is this? You say, Holy Bible, show me where it's written Bible. You can never find it. It's already shown on the cover here, Bible. Just like the word Christians. You can never find Christians in the Bible. When they went to Antioch, one town, the non-believers, polytheists, saw them and said, those are Christians. It's not Jesus that has named his religion as Christianity. It's not Allah that has named that religion as Christianity. But the polytheists, the pagans, the non-believers, the enemies of Jesus, named them Christians. And they just assume, oh, we are now Christians. Why? Our religion is from the books. You learn Islam from the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Not from the words of non-believers, mushrikun, kuffar, no. Our name, Islam or Muslims, is mentioned in the Quran. It was first given to us by Ibrahim alayhi salam. مِلَّةَ أَبِيكُمْ إِبْرَاهِيمُ هُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ قَوْلُ فِي هَذَا. Abraham named this religion as Islam, and Allah approves of it. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دين. So you see, Allah has approved this. And we all know Abraham is not a mushrik. ما كان إبراهيم يهوديا ولا نصرانيا ولكن كان حنيفا مسلما وما كان من المشركين. So Abraham is not a mushrik. You understand? He's not a polytheist. He is the leader of the monotheistic religion, Abraham. You get the point. So that's the difference between Islam, alhamdulillah, we are Muslims, and other religions. Everything we do is documented from the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet, not elsewhere. Anything outside this are just dictations of the shaitan. Na'udhu billah. Na'udhu billah. So we hold fast onto our Quran and the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ as recorded to us and reported to us by the companions of the Prophet himself. So Allah is saying, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ كَتَمَ شَهَادَةً عِنْدَهُ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَمَا اللَّهُ بِغَافِلٍ عَمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. Allah is not unaware of what you are doing. He's telling the Christians, the Jews, the non-Muslims, polytheists, what they ascribe to Allah. Allah has rejected all this. He only approves of what He sent His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to us with. وَمَا اللَّهُ بِغَافِلٍ عَمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. Allah verily knows everything you do. Now Allah said what?
تلك أمة قد خلت لها ما كسبت ولكم ما كسبتم ولا تسألون عما كانوا يعملون.
Now Allah said, Tilka ummatun, those, that's Ibrahim and all those that have been mentioned, before Ibrahim, where Allah said Ibrahim, Ismail, after Ibrahim, where Allah said Ibrahim, Ismail, Ishaq, Yaqub, Asbat, and so on. Tilka, those are a nation, ummatun qad khalat, that have gone. Laha ma kasabat wa lakum ma kasabtum. Allah will record all they did against their names, and all you do against your names. So don't just claim because and just say, because I follow the path, the religion of Ibrahim, so I automatically am going to Jannah. No, you have to work. Do the deeds of Ibrahim to earn what Ibrahim has earned. You cannot say because my parents are scholars, so definitely I'm going to Jannah. No, you have to learn Islam, do the deeds that your parents, scholars, have done to earn the Jannah your parents entered into. Do you understand? You cannot just rely and say because my father is a prophet, so definitely I'm going to Jannah. Allah said, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. Allah is telling the Prophet Muhammad to warn, to advise, to admonish his relatives, close relatives. Then the Prophet said, Ya this, called them, Ya Bani Abdul Manaf, i'malu la ugni ankum min Allahi shay'a. My tribe, walk, worship Allah to earn reward to enter into Jannah, because I will never, save you on the day of judgment before Allah. He even called his daughter, Ya Fatimatu bint Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Salini min mali ma shit. Ask me of these worldly things. If I have, I will give you. But on the day of judgment, la ugni anki min Allahi shay'a. I will never save you anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. So you cannot claim because your parents are prophets or scholars, definitely you are going to Jannah. Somebody will be a drunkard and will be saying, my father is the chief imam of our village. That does not, add anything to you. Allah will ask him his deeds, and He's going to ask you your own deeds. So don't boast that you are from, a scholar, a family, that holds scholarship in high, morals, esteem. You have to be scholarly too. You understand? Don't boast about your family or parents. You understand? Don't boast. Don't tell us that you are the son of a professor. It doesn't matter. You cannot be crowned professor after his death. Nobody can crown. You cannot inherit his knowledge. Or can you? All the certificates are gone when he dies. You cannot carry all the certificates and start going to the universities to seek for a job as a professor. Can you do that? No. So that is Islam. On the day of judgment, you cannot claim anything. Boast about your own deeds. What have you done? And these deeds are the ones that are going to earn you Jannah or otherwise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us. Tilka ummatun qad khalat laha ma kasabat wa lakum ma kasabtum wa la tus'aluna amma kanu ya'malun. Allah will never ask you about what they have done. Just like Allah is not going to ask them about what you have done. Everyone will answer his own questions. So be ready to answer all the things you do. All the things. All the things. If I said all, I mean all. Just, go through your minds and see all the things you do. Are they right or not? The Prophet ﷺ is saying, Al-birru, things that are right are no. If you want to know things that are wrong, ask yourself internally, be just to yourself. Do you want people to see you doing this or to hear of you doing this? No, then this is wrong. You don't need to be a professor to decipher what is wrong. This thing that is going on the ground, do you want people to see you, to record you and show the world? No, to them it's wrong. You don't need to have any textual evidence to prove that you're wrong. Do you understand? Al-ithmu ma haka fi nafsika wa karita an yattali' alayhi an-nas. Sin is what disturbs you in your mind, and you do not want people to see you doing it. So whatever you don't want people to record you doing it, you're doing your salat, praying, you won't mind if somebody records you and say, Allah Johan is a Muslim, I saw him in the mosque praying, or he's fasting. You will not bother. You understand? But what goes under the table, or in closed fists and behind your back, that thing, you will not want people to record you. Then it's wrong. You stop it. نسأل الله تبارك وتعالى التوفيق والسداد إنه ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. If you have any question, we'll use the remaining time to answer them. Then we're going to start saying Sufaha, inshallah. Wa alaikum assalam.
I'm going to like to ask a question on pictures. Yesterday you mentioned the issue of pictures.
Pictures.
Yes.
Pictures, okay.
Yeah,
Photographs.
Photographs. Like if people come to the university as visitors, they will like to take pictures to document that they are here. Or if you go to any university or any activity, the university will like to take pictures to document for record purposes. Will you now see you are not taking it, or you will join them as a ladura and do it as such?
These are official pictures. Do you understand? They are not personal. What we discussed yesterday is that to snap pictures that are just without reason, do you understand? Unnecessary. Nobody is going to ask you, why didn't you snap a picture during this time or that time? Then you do not need all these pictures. Do you understand? And secondly, some scholars will say all pictures that people revere, take in high esteem, that this is the picture of my grandfather. You even hang it on the wall. You will not want your kids to tamper with it. These are the pictures that the Prophet ﷺ fought against. Because when you revere pictures, then you revere those in the pictures. You understand? Sometimes it might take to something beyond, imagination. You will love them more than necessary. Because when we mention that verse, وَقَالُوا لَا تَذَرُنَّ آلِهَتَكُمْ وَلَا تَذَرُنَّ وَدًّا وَلَا سُوَاعًا وَلَا يَغُوثَ وَيَغُوثَ وَنَسْرًا. Ibn Abbas said all these are names of, initially they were names of pious people. But later, as generations after generation passed, they became names of idols. What happened? He said initially they drew their pictures just to remind themselves of the good deeds of these pious predecessors. No intention, just to remind themselves, just to immortalize their names. And when they teach their young ones that, you see this, this is a good man, he did this, do you understand? For the children to copy. But when, times, passed by, all these knowledges, because they were not documented, were forgotten. And Shaitan replaced those good knowledges with bad ones. He said, your forefathers worship them. So now the later generation started worshiping this. They even, went ahead to make sculptures of these great grandfathers. Initially, they were outside the places of worship, and then they, took them into places of worship. So that's the origin of idols and idol worshiping is pictures. So that's why scholars say, if you have no reason to snap any picture, please don't. Because the Prophet ﷺ fought against pictures up to his death. You understand? But these are official pictures, and you can say they are darurat. You cannot throw away your money because it has pictures. You understand? All our money have pictures. So you cannot say, I'm not going to spend any naira, any dollar. I will not touch any money that has picture. Even Saudi Riyal has pictures. Do you understand? So these are things that are, unavoidable. You cannot avoid them. But the best you can do as a person, do it. Allah sees what your intention is. And Allah is going to reward each and every one of us according to our intention. Any other question? Now, let me use a few minutes to say, the Prophet ﷺ said, Man fattara sa'iman, whoever feeds a fasting Muslim will get the reward, equivalent reward of that fasting Muslim, without denying that fasting Muslim his reward. And don't forget that you also are fasting. You are fasting. So you get your own reward, you get his own reward. That person might have like 60 or 70% of the total reward of fasting that day. So you're going to get 70 plus your own. But one thing I want to mention is that we have already heard about this hadith. Some of us have even read about it. But one point is where scholars will say, Man fattara sa'iman, yani man shabba'a sa'iman. Whoever feeds a fasting Muslim to his fill, yakoshi, that's when you are going to have his equivalent reward. Not just give him 3 dates or even 1 date. You say, no, man fattara sa'iman, I fed a fasting Muslim. No. Yes, you have earned reward, but not the reward equivalent to his fast. You have to give him to his fill. Yes, maybe he will say, let me go and buy swear, or let me go and buy this to eat. But he will not say, let me go and buy food to eat, because he has eaten to his satisfaction. So that's when you're going to have an equivalent reward of his fasting. So please take note. Take note. When you are bringing foods to the mosques in our usual areas, don't just give a takeaway that an adult person will not, be filled up when he eats. You understand? Sometimes we give food out, and that food is just small to fill up a child, not an adult. He might need maybe 3 takeaways or 4 or 2. So make it, voluminous enough to make him fill up. Please, if you want to earn an equivalent reward of a fasting Muslim, you have to feed him to his fill. نسأل الله تبارك وتعالى التوفيق والسداد إنه بذلك والقادر عليه. It's not necessary that you give, 40, 50 take away. You can give 20. Even if you can feed only one person to his fill, please do that. It's better than giving 100 that none of the hundreds is filled up. You understand? You can invite 1 or 2 people to your house. Let them eat to their satisfaction. You can bring these takeaways to the mosque. Give 4, 5, 10 people. It's better than giving 100 people that will never be satisfied. They will still want to go and look for food. You can give them iftar, you can also give them sahur. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.